don't think you're going to regret it. That's all I have.
All right. Would you like to call your witnesses?
Sure. Your Honor, the first one is Elizer Darus. Is he here? You step forward, sir.
And just so for the record, Ms. Townsend, Mr. Applebaum, I know Mr. Darus. We've worked together. Yeah, if you just come up here, we know each other. We've worked together on other criminal justice related matters.
Your Honor, I don't know the right format to use. Can I just ask him to tell you briefly what he wants to tell you? Is that?
Sure. Mr. Darus, would you just tell me your name first and spell it?
My name is Elizer Darus. That's Elizer. Last name Darus, Darris.
All right. Mr. Applebaum, do you want to, I could just ask Mr. Darus to tell me what you like to tell me, or however you want to handle it.
That's fine, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, or good afternoon now.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, and thank you for allowing me and other advocates or family members to speak on Mayan's behalf. We recognize that you did not have to do this, and so we really do appreciate it and value it. I've actually known Mayan for many, many, many years. I, like he, was a juvenile lifer. I was sentenced to spend the rest of my natural life in the care of the Commission of Corrections. Unlike him, I got my life sentence reversed on appeal, resentenced to second-degree homicide, and I served another decade inside of this. I had a lot of runway to prepare myself for an eventual release, and I was really fortunate. It was challenging at first, but I was really fortunate to ultimately be surrounded by some really fantastic mentors, men and women who really poured into my life to really allow for me to really stabilize and ultimately flourish. With Mayan, it was a pretty instantaneous release back into the community, and many of us, have just been grinding and grinding and grinding, fighting for justice, trying to establish our lives, building families. And I recognize that that the community of support that we probably could have and should have provided for Mayan, I think that the most glorious thing was really fighting to get him out. But then there's a secondary component to that. There is an accountability component. There is a support component that many of us within the advocacy space, we recognize that because all of it was new to us too, we didn't provide that secondary level of support for someone having such a dramatic shift and a dramatic change in their lives. Mayan really needed more of us to come around to really help him transition back. I had a transitionary period, right? I went from super maximum to medium to minimum to home. That was my process, right? And that wasn't Mayan's process. Mayan's process was to go from Stillwater Prison, which was a level 4 prison, home, like that, right? But I watched Mayan come into the prison as a child, quite frankly. I was in the juvenile program as well. I was a little bit older than him, and he was one of the tiniest people within the facility. But he had bright eyes, and many of us within the facility, we recognized his intelligence. We recognized a lot about him that we saw that was good. And quite frankly, it became really well known. I know that this is still at issue and that, other determinations and other proceedings are still being determined, but it became really well known that he wasn't guilty of the offense that he was inside of the prison of. And everyone, sometimes the street just knows, and this was a situation in which the streets just knew. And ultimately, I think justice really ran its course, and he was released. One of my great regrets is not being, as present as I recognize I could have been and probably should have been. I just, I recognize how much support I had. Like, I've had mentors in the prison who was released, who was there with me. I mean, my first car came from Willie Lloyd, who he gave me the first car, for $1, right, and was ever present, ever holding me accountable. I could ask like some of the really challenging questions around, relationship issues, family issues, job issues. But I think a lot of that scaffolding, many of us recognize we probably could have come in and helped to provide for him and others, not just him. I think that there's been within the advocacy community a shift. So there's been other young men who have now been released. That level of support is there, right? We've recognized, okay, it's not enough to just fight to get people out, right? We then have to also provide, the supports that is necessary to help people come back home. And with Mayan, particularly over the past few months, I've been present. I've been there. I mean, just the other day, my wife made some chicken noodle soup. I took it over to his house. He's right across the street from All Square, and we kicked it. We got a chance to really chop it up. We talk, at least every other day, most of the times daily now. I'm present. I'm there, right? There is support mechanisms. There's scaffolding now around him, right? And the other case is working. I'm also part of the CRU, and I recognize some of the challenges that we've had moving cases through the processes. We're almost there, and so what I would ask for you, Your Honor, is to recognize the community that is around him, that is standing up to say, we will stand into the gap. We will be inside of the gap. We are here. We support him. And we will continue to be ever present. I have seen such a dramatic shift inside of Mayan within the past few months. It's been really remarkable. In fact, and I'm here, and we know each other a little bit, and you know that I don't really skirt around the gray areas. I'm pretty, and I'm here to offer him that level of support that is really needed for someone like myself who was a young person coming back home to this community. And so I would just ask you to allow Mayan to stay in the community with us as this instant appeal works its way through the process, and then the other case as well works its way through the processes as well. And so that's all I would have to say, is just to come forward and just to offer myself up as a pretty committed supporter and mentor of Mayan.
Thank you for that. Thanks for sharing that. Thank you.
Your Honor, the next individual will be John Geffin.
All right. And just, I think we discussed this in advance. Television cameras are rolling. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable having the television cameras running. If you choose not to be seen, you just let me know.
Thank you, Judge. I'm fine with the camera.
You're fine with the cameras. All right. If you could, yeah, go ahead. Beat me to it.
My name is John Geffin, Jongefffen. I'm an attorney, and I'm the director of the Legal Revolution Law Firm, and I'm also the director of the Reentry Clinic at the Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law. And I've known Mayan for a while, just since his release, and I had periodic connection with him. Always enjoyed him, always found him to be positive, lovely human being. In, I guess it would have been about this summer, this most recent summer, he started working at All Square. And he started working at the food truck at All Square. Our organization, the Legal Revolution, is very connected to All Square. And so I started seeing him more. And I started seeing his impact on people around him. People like Mayan. Mayan brings a ton of positivity. Every time you see Mayan, he's going to hug you. And you're going to hug him back. And it's kind of one of the more wonderful things every day to see somebody and give him a hug. And so at the reentry clinic, I started seeing Mayan. I thought it would be a good idea to have Mayan come talk to the reentry class. The class works with the students, work with individuals coming home from periods of incarceration on civil legal matters. And matters like the perils and struggles of reentry. And Mayan came to class, and we actually joined 2 classes. And he held, you couldn't hear a pin drop in this class. The students were fascinated by it. It wasn't a recitation of every bad thing that happened to him. They're talking about what is it, the human parts of coming home after decades away from being a child to coming home as an adult. I think parents have passed during that time, people you didn't get to grieve and bury, people who forgot about you, communities that moved on without you, family members that moved on without you. So the jubilation of coming home, but then the realities of being home. And he talked so honestly and thoughtfully about it. It was every student that we met with that day came to me individually and talked about the impact that it had on them. And a very positive impact. And not the Pollyanna stuff, just the perils of this reality of reentry. And I started thinking, if you can have that impact in one afternoon, what else could we do? And we decided to hire him at the law firm. And for the last month, I see Mayan every day. And I get to hug Mayan every day. And we will go out into community, and Mayan helps. You know, it's not just he has a job. His job is perfect for him because he goes out into community and helps and talks to people coming home who need that support, who maybe he didn't have enough support. He makes his own decisions. But what I see now is him in community, working hard, not for stuff that self-grandizes him, but makes other people's lives better. He excels in community. He has a history of lived experience that can bring him into a room and connect with people in ways I can't connect with those folks. And he does it earnestly, and he's good at it. I won't profess to know everything about all of his cases, but I know him now, and I know how he's viewed in community and how he's accepted. The community needs him. He is an asset to our community. He's an asset to young people, and he is doing good things. I hope he is allowed to continue to stay in community. The last thing I'd say is his apartment, and I think as Mr. Darus said, is right across the street from All Square. Mm-hmm. Everybody at All Square, he comes in. Those are 10 people that connect with him daily. Those are 10 hugs. I see him at the Legal Revolution pretty much daily. There's another 10 people. And we are there to support him and hold him accountable, and he's there to support us too. It's a very symbiotic, strong relationship. And I appreciate the court taking the time to listen to me today, and he's in good hands in community, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you for being here. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Your Honor, the final witness that we have is Leslie Redman.
Hi, good afternoon.
Grace and peace, Your Honor.
Thank you. Would you tell
My
me?
name is Leslie Redman.
Thank you.
Leslie, Leslie, last name Redman, Redmond. Many people know me as the former president for the Minneapolis NAACP. I'm a licensed attorney. The list goes on and on and on. I do a lot of community work, and I'm really committed to our community. One thing I wanted to start with was what a lot of people don't know about me is I'm what would have been considered an at-risk youth from the inner city of Washington, D.C., first-generation college graduate, went on to do a JD MBA and so many amazing things. But because of that, I understand the gaps that exist within our communities. Unfortunately, I've lost 2 of my brothers to gun violence in the inner city of Washington, D.C., and countless others. And so I know of the danger of these weapons and these guns in our community. And I also recognize the danger that young black men face when they do not have any protection, right? I came across Mayan Burrell because of his case. People were bringing it to my attention about his wrongful conviction, and I advocated. And I was so thankful when it was commuted. I actually met with Senator Amy Klobuchar and was one of the individuals that was able to help her see the light and to advocate and help us to fight for Mayan's freedom as well. And when I watched him come out of that jail, that prison in December of 2020, I never imagined that we would be here today. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about accountability, yes, it's personal accountability, but as Elizer Darus said, it's also community accountability. And I want to echo Elizer's sentiments because at the time we were all exhausted. You know, it was also coming off of the summer of 2020. We know COVID-19, so many things existed with George Floyd, and the list goes on and on. And I don't think that we were able to show up for Mayan. So when we talk about that gap of like support and who he is now versus who he was before, it's because it was a real gap. You know, he was coming back to no resources, no real opportunities were there. When you're in situations like this, people want to stand away from you. They don't necessarily want to stand beside you, right? All of us that stand up here today, we're also putting our names on the line. We're putting our face on the line. And I started putting my name and face on the line with Mayan before I even met him in person, right? I never met him in person, but just because of his case, I believed him. But meeting him in person such an amazing person. I was meeting with my dear friend Emily Turner, who's in the room today, who is the creator of All Squares and also Legal Revolution. And she said, you know, Leslie, how can I support you in what you're doing? And I said, to support me, you can support Mayan, right? Like, that's what I really needed. That's what was hurting my stomach, that I couldn't show up more for Mayan, because I knew how much he wanted to do well. And this was after the incident happened. And it didn't make me want to stay away from him. It made me want to lean in more, because I realized, like, oh, we kind of, you know, we messed up as a community by not wrapping our arms around him and supporting him enough, right? And so what you're seeing now, as Elizer said, is a product of us showing up for him and supporting him. And that's why I'm here today, because I do believe in Mayan, and I do believe he deserves a future, and I do believe that he believes he deserves a future. And I ask you to see his humanity. I ask you to see all of our humanity, and I know that you do, just the way that you've been conducting this case. And I appreciate you for giving us opportunity. And I didn't mean to be up here crying, so I'm going to go now, but I appreciate you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Ms. Redman, thank you for your comments, and I'm sorry for your loss of your loved ones.
Your Honor, could we just take, someone wants
Can I
to,
speak
we wanted to
my
limit it
son?
to 3 people.
Yes. Can I speak to my son, Your Honor? That's my son. My name is Michael Tucson. I'm a father.
Sure.
I hear all these advocates talking.
If you could, sir, if you'd begin just by telling me your name and spell it for me, please.
Thank you for taking the time to let me speak. My name is Michael Tucson. I'm Mayan's father. And I own up and I take accountability, because I'm the father that was in prison 10 years of his life while he was a baby. And so I am most of the blame of what happened to him. He has to own his own accountability. I understand that. I've been to court so many times, and I watch people advocate for him, and but no one ever asked me or my daughter how it makes us feel to see my child go through this. You know, when I was recently getting out of jail in 2002, I served about 10 years. I went 92 and got out in 2002. His mother died while he was down there, going through his trial right here. And the media said, well, she died coming down there to see him. He has a lot of burden on him, and it's a lot of things in his life that really, really bother him. And my son and me, when he got out, I didn't even spend much time with him because of COVID and all the other things that was happening. But I know he was scared. He was scared of society. And I can tell you from going through being 10 years and walking out after 10 years for something I did, to actually walk out for something that you didn't do, and everybody in the world looking at you as you did this to this little young girl. And I'd like to put a name on it. Her name is Taisha Edwards. You know, and the baby did not deserve to die. She was at her table. And like Elizer said, the streets talk. And so we actually knew my son didn't do it, and we fought. 18 years, every day. I went up to prison and seen my son faithfully. You could check the corrections every weekend, and if it wasn't a weekend I couldn't make it up there, it was because of something happened major. But this is hard, and what's hard for me is that what Leslie said, if you're not in the community, you don't understand how it is to feel like you walk out of jail and the people that think that you did something, they still don't care about what it was or what he didn't do, you know. And so at one point in time, I was saying I'd rather want to be judged by the 12 than carried by the 6. And if you don't understand what that means be killed by somebody out there in society. You know, rather than not be able to protect yourself. And I watched so many people get up out of jail after him, and they allowed him to get the rights back. And I know it's not no one in here, but he has been calling me for the last 4 months. If it ain't every day, every other day. And as a father, I sense his fear. You know, I sense his fear. Fear going back in the box, fear going through the things he's going through. But also I know as a parent that it's hard for me to say I'm at fault for doing something wrong. But I know my child, and I know that he feels as if he could do it all over again. I watched him. I went over to the places that he worked at and watched him contribute. I'm talking to him on the phone, he's telling me he's with mentees. And the young kids need that out there. They truly need that out there. Because without somebody that experienced it or been through it, how can they not make the same mistakes that he was charged for? Not that he necessarily did, but that he was charged for. And so I would ask you, Judge, to at least know that we are here for him and that we're not just saying it, and that I want accountability, and if it takes me talking to my child every day, and I'm proud to see that he got out and that he's doing something better, and if what happened to him allowed him to see that this can happen, I understand that he knows it now, and I hope that you would give him leniency, and that's all. That's all. And you know, the reason why I got up and spoke, because for years I watched people talk over my kids, and I had nothing to say. They never even asked me how I felt, or my daughter, which she goes through a lot with Mayan. And I just thank you for giving me the time to say that, and I really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Appreciate your words. Thank you for sharing. Mr. Applebaum?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Ms. Townsend?